Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Web Summit. We are very excited to be here. My name is Miguel Magalhães. I'm the content lead at The Next Big Idea, and over the next 3 days we'll be conducting a series of interviews on startups, investors, and players from the Portuguese and other ecosystems. But today we are lucky enough to be organizing a series of interviews powered by the European Investment Fund that will be bringing here a series of VCs that has supported the ecosystem and of course a series of companies that were supported by those funds. And as well, we have here people from the European Investment Bank, which of course oversees all the operations. And so for the first interview, I'm lucky enough to have Ricardo Mourinho Félix, which is the Vice President of the European Investment Bank with me, who, thank you very much
Thank you
for
very
being here.
much.
And the first question that I had is, by overseeing the activities of the European Investment Bank, how does the bank support innovation and support the startups ecosystems?
Well, the bank, as the European Union Bank, has priorities that are defined by the main policies of the EU. Innovation is the main policy, and rightly so. And the bank puts money, funding, to these policies. To give you big numbers, per year, the bank is doing around 80 billion euros of funding. Out of this funding, 25% goes to innovation.
Wow.
It's a massive amount of money, 20 billion per year. When it comes to venture capital, private equity, and venture debt, the bank is doing something around 6 billion per year. If you consider that for each euro that we invest, that we crowd in private investments in a ratio for 1 to 5, this 6 billion euros per year will bring into the system 30 billions of funding by private investors, by private financiers, by institutional investors, by funds of funds that invest in this ecosystem of innovation. And the EIB groups, through the EIB in the venture debt and the IF in the venture capital are the catalyzer of this system in Europe and the biggest investor. So that's the role we are providing. This creates jobs, this allows for innovation, and this led to the EIF to be funding half of the European unicorns. Names like Spotify or Skype or Klarna are companies that we finance at the very beginning so that they can scale up, that they can be what they represent in today's world.
And how would you explain the relationship between the European Investment Bank and the European Investment Fund? How do they collaborate? How do they plan and organize initiatives? How do you work together?
So the IB group is a group, and then the bank is that's the bank, as the name says, and is more focused on direct operations. Though we also do funding intermediated through banks. The European Investment Fund is our fund manager for venture capital and guarantees that boost the ecosystem of SMEs and startups and scale-ups. The group follows all the process of growth of a company, from seed capital in EIF to successive rounds of capital through EIF. This is intermediate to fund manager, and when companies grow and start to have a commercial activity that is starting to be meaningful, but that is still at early stage, we have the venture debt by EIB, and we allow the company to have the means to invest and to scale up without diluting the founders and to grow to the next stage. And then once the company grows to mid-cap stage, then we have the EIB funding directly the companies for innovation and for the cutting-edge innovation projects. That's what we did with many companies, with 5 out of 7 Portuguese unicorns, and 7 unicorns in Portugal is a big number given the size of the country. That shows well the dynamism of the country in terms of human capital formation, in terms of good environment for prosper for the startups. And out of these 7 unicorns, 5 were supported by the EIF. This shows very well the role that you have as in Portugal.
Before moving on to the Portuguese context, how would you explain the role? Because it has been a pretty harsh year in terms of investment for most startups, and each market had its own response on how could help startups or the overall ecosystem. How do you explain the relationship or the help that the European Investment Bank gives to national promotional banks in the activity that they have within those markets?
Well, European Investment Bank, as the name says, is the EU bank. The way we work with companies is pretty much related with the stage that the company is. When it comes to startups and small and medium enterprises, we cannot work directly. We need to go through intermediaries, and the national promotional banks like the BPF in Portugal or the BPI France or the ICO in Spain or KfW in Germany are key partners for us to reach the SMEs and to be able to distribute our funds. We collaborate together, we put our funds together and we invest through the EIF and the national promotional banks in this strategy of fund of funds. We don't pick winners. We pick the best fund managers for them to pick the winners, and they have been very successful in doing so.
Within the Portuguese context, the main initiative has been the Portugal Tech. How would you assess the impact that that initiative has had in the ecosystem over the last 5 years?
Well, that initiative was extremely successful and extremely important. In fact, we started before with the Portugal Venture Capital Initiative, and then with Portugal Growth for allow firms to move to scale up. And then with Portugal Tech, we focused us and BPF on tech companies. We pulled together our funds. We managed to bring private financing such that for each euro from the Portuguese budget through the BPF, we made it 5 euros of investment in tech companies. We financed three Portuguese unicorns through the Portugal Tech. So 3 out of 7 were financed by Portugal Tech. We are still in the investment period, and things are going quite well, and we are quite advanced. So I think we have good possibilities of having more unicorns, more innovation, more technology coming out of Portugal, and we are able to continue supporting these firms in the later stages once they move to a bigger scale, once they start having commercial cases that are clear-cut, and then we can continue to support these firms.
Ricardo, thank you very much
Thank you very much.
being
It's a
with
pleasure.
us.
Thank you.
Who is watching us, please stick with us through LinkedIn. Don't forget to follow us if you want to get notified whenever we have a new interview. We'll be here the rest of the day, so thank you very much.
Thank you.